You guys, did you notice it too? Because the moment ARMY opened Weverse Magazine to relive BTS' unforgettable FIFA World Cup halftime performance, something felt different. It wasn't loud. It wasn't obvious at first. But once fans saw it, they couldn't unsee it. One question started spreading everywhere. Where's Jimin? And honestly, that single question completely changed the way many people experienced the entire article. The excitement had been building for days. After one of BTS' most talked about global stages, ARMY couldn't wait to revisit every breathtaking second. Every performance photo, every behind-the-scenes detail, every little memory that made that night feel larger than life. It wasn't just another performance. It was one of those moments that reminded everyone why BTS continues to connect millions of people across the world. The lights. The roaring stadium. The music echoing through every corner. Every member bringing something uniquely powerful to the stage. So when Weverse Magazine released its official feature celebrating that incredible performance, fans naturally rushed to read every word. You know how ARMY is. Some people immediately start reading. Others zoom into every single photo. Some compare outfits. Others notice tiny expressions. The smallest gestures. The little moments that most people would never even think to look at. That's what makes this fandom so incredible. Nothing goes unnoticed. And that's exactly what happened. At first, everything looked beautiful. The article captured the scale of the event. The atmosphere. The energy. The excitement surrounding BTS' appearance on one of the world's biggest stages. Every image reflected the intensity of that unforgettable night. Until someone quietly pointed out something unexpected. Wait. Am I missing something? Another fan looked again. Then another. And another. Within minutes, more people began scrolling back to the top. Checking every image carefully. 1 photo. 2 photos. 3. Then another. That's when the question became impossible to ignore. Where was Jimin? Not because fans expected every single image to include every member. Not because every article must feature identical photos. But because this was a celebration of an unforgettable BTS performance. And many fans were surprised that the published photo selection didn't appear to include Jimin. That observation alone sparked countless conversations. Not accusations. Not conclusions. Just questions. Curiosity. Confusion. People simply wanted to understand. Honestly. Can we talk about how fast ARMY notices details? It's almost unbelievable. A tiny accessory. A different camera angle. One changed caption. One missing frame. Nothing escapes this fandom. Within hours, timelines filled with side-by-side comparisons. Fans revisited official performance clips. Broadcast screenshots. Press photos. Backstage images. Trying to understand what they were seeing. Some wondered if there were simply editorial choices behind the photo selection. Others hoped additional photos would appear later. Many reminded everyone not to jump to conclusions. But at the same time, the questions kept coming. Because Jimin has always been one of those artists whose presence feels impossible to overlook. It's difficult to explain unless you've watched him perform. He's not always the loudest person in the room. He's not someone who forces attention toward himself. Yet somehow, your eyes find him anyway. How does he even do that? Sometimes it's the way he turns during choreography. Sometimes it's the calm expression before the music suddenly explodes. Sometimes it's just one glance toward the audience. One smile. One tiny breath between movements. Those moments stay with people long after the performance ends. That's why, for many ARMY, realizing they couldn't find him in the article's photo selection felt surprisingly emotional. Not because photographs define an artist. Not because recognition depends on one article. but because every member contributes something irreplaceable to BTS. Each personality, each voice, each emotion, each story. Together, they create something that simply cannot be replicated. And just when fans thought the discussion would quietly fade away, something else happened. People started sharing their favorite Jimin moments from the FIFA halftime performance instead. Almost instinctively. As if the conversation transformed into something entirely different. Instead of focusing only on what wasn't there, ARMY began reminding each other of everything that was. Clips of Jimin's graceful movements started appearing again. Close-up performance edits resurfaced. Fan-made compilations spread across social media. People shared screenshots capturing his elegant expressions under the stadium lights. His confident posture. His effortless transitions between powerful choreography and delicate emotion. It almost felt like the fandom collectively decided, if we miss seeing him here, let's celebrate him ourselves. And honestly, that response said so much about the relationship between Jimin and ARMY. It wasn't about outrage. It wasn't about creating unnecessary drama. It was about appreciation. About remembering. About making sure every member's contribution continued to be celebrated. But then, another detail quietly caught everyone's attention. And somehow, that made the conversation even more emotional. Before that conversation could settle, another feeling quietly began spreading through the fandom. It wasn't anger. It wasn't even disappointment anymore. It was reflection. You guys, have you ever noticed how certain moments in BTS history seem to remind everyone why this fandom is so deeply connected? Sometimes it isn't a new performance or a surprise announcement. Sometimes it's simply a conversation that brings millions of people back to the same memories at the same time. That's exactly what seemed to happen here. As more fans revisited the Weverse Magazine feature, many also revisited the FIFA World Cup halftime stage itself. They watched the performance again, not because they needed proof of anything, but because they wanted to relive the experience. And honestly, the moment Jimin appeared on stage, it became easy to understand why his presence leaves such a lasting impression. The stadium lights reflected across the stage. The music surged through the venue. Thousands upon thousands of voices blended into one enormous wave of excitement. Yet amid all that energy, Jimin still carried that unmistakable elegance. It wasn't just the choreography. It wasn't just the styling. It was the way he moved with complete confidence while making every motion appear effortless. How does he make something so technically difficult look so natural? Every turn felt intentional. Every expression told a story. Even the briefest pause between movements somehow carried emotion. That's something fans have admired for years. Jimin has always had the ability to communicate without speaking. One glance. One smile. One gentle nod. Sometimes that's enough. And maybe that's why so many fans instinctively search for him in those published photos. Because when you've experienced that kind of stage presence, your mind naturally expects to see it represented whenever people look back on the performance. As discussions continued online, many ARMY also reminded one another of something important. A selection of photos in an article doesn't necessarily reflect the entirety of an event or diminish any member's contribution. Editorial teams choose images for many different reasons, and without an official explanation, fans recognize that it would be unfair to assume intent behind those choices. That perspective helped keep many conversations respectful. Instead of rushing to conclusions, countless fans focused on expressing what Jimin's performance meant to them personally. And that shift changed the tone completely. Posts began appearing that weren't asking, why wasn't he in these photos? Instead they said, let's appreciate his performance. Let's celebrate every member. Let's remember how incredible that night really was. Honestly, that may have been the most beautiful part of the entire discussion. Because it reminded everyone what ARMY does best. Supporting. Remembering. Lifting people up. The conversation gradually became less about one article and more about the memories that no photograph could ever fully capture. Fans shared clips of Jimin smiling backstage. They reposted favorite fan cams. They revisited interviews from around the event. Some talked about the emotion they felt watching BTS represent music on one of the world's biggest sporting stages. Others simply shared screenshots that had become personal favorites. Each image carried a different meaning. Each memory belonged to someone. And together, those memories painted a much bigger picture than any single publication ever could. Can we talk about that for a second? That's the remarkable thing about BTS. Their legacy has never depended on one magazine feature, one headline, or one collection of photographs. Their impact lives in the people who watched them. The people who found comfort in their music. The people who remember exactly where they were when a particular performance made them smile or even cry. Jimin is part of that story. So are RM, Jin, Suga, J-Hope, V, and Jungkook. Each member brings something completely unique. Different personalities. Different colors. Different strengths. Yet when they stand together, those differences become one extraordinary team. Maybe that's why this discussion resonated with so many people. Because fans weren't simply looking for another photograph. They were looking for completeness. For the feeling that every member who helped create such a memorable performance was represented in the celebration afterward. Whether or not future updates include different images, one thing remained undeniable. The performance itself hasn't changed. Jimin's artistry hasn't changed. The memories created that night haven't changed. Every breathtaking movement. Every emotional expression. Every unforgettable second still belongs to the millions who witnessed it. No article can erase that. No photo selection can rewrite those moments. Because the loudest memory isn't always found on a printed page. Sometimes, it's carried inside the hearts of the people who were inspired by what they saw. And perhaps that's the most powerful reminder of all. The conversation that began with one simple question. Where's Jimin? Ultimately became a celebration of why his presence continues to matter so deeply to so many people around the world. As always, let's continue supporting all 7 members of BTS with kindness and respect, while remembering that discussions are strongest when they're based on facts rather than assumptions. Every member helped create unforgettable moments, and that's something worth celebrating together. If you enjoyed this video and want more emotional BTS stories, heartfelt moments, and the latest updates from the members, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our next video. And now we want to hear from you. What was your favorite Jimin moment from BTS FIFA World Cup halftime performance, and what did you think when you saw the Weverse Magazine photo selection? Share your thoughts respectfully in the comments below. Until next time, take care, keep supporting BTS, and as always, Borahae.